everyone, it's Sue. I'm back again today with another episode of our 12-inch Using Up Your 12-inch paper series. So we're into number 11. We're getting up there slowly, so I haven't been uploaded a video for this series for a couple of weeks. But you would know why if you watch my channel and have seen a previous video. So we're back into it, and let's get started. So today we're going to be making this little contraption. I have seen similar around before. I'm not sure whether it's been done this way, but I just thought these two are made from one sheet of 12-inch paper, and then I've just decorated it as well. So what it is, this is a first one that I did, and I need to do it a little bit different, and I'll go through that with you this time. So it's a double-sided little envelope, good for keeping little bits and pieces in there. So it's great for Happy Mail, but also nice to keep a few extra bits and pieces in your journal. So that's that one, and this one's a little bit different with the closure. If I can get it open. So you can see in there, it's a double-sided. So this one's a bit better. You can see it's actually, I've gusseted it more, and that's just all to do with the gluing. So it just enables you to get more in there and open it up a little bit better. Okay, so what you need to do is just choose your 12-inch sheet of paper that you're going to use. I've just grabbed out of my stash a paper pad, and I'm using single-sided because we only need single-sided because you don't really see the inside. It's not a feature, the inside anyway. So I'm just going to pop those to the side. So I'm just going to quickly choose something out of here, and I think I'm just going to go with this one. You want a sheet probably with a little bit of substance to it, but it doesn't have to be like really heavy cardstock. Okay, so we're just going to cut the branding strip off, and then we're going to cut 4 6-inch squares. Okay, oops. So cut this off first. I don't know whether you can hear that rain in the background. It's absolutely pouring down, and it's windy as anything, but it's beautiful. So I'll just get my coffee out of the way. It has been so hot, and now it's turned cool. You can see I've got a cardigan on, but I'm not complaining because I absolutely love it. I'd much rather this weather than the heat of summer. I'm just cutting your sheet into 6 inches and then cross-cutting it by 6 inches. And that will give you 4 6-inch pieces. I've got a new mat, and everything it doesn't have any nicks or anything in it, so it's hard to pick paper up. That's why I'm struggling. Okay. This probably, if you've got something that doesn't matter if it's not directional, so just get something with a pattern all over if you've got it. So what we're going to do on each of the squares, and you can find the center of your piece of paper, so we can just go like that if you want to, and fold it the other way and just slightly crease, and you'll see that you have your center. I much prefer, now this is just me, I much prefer to be able to actually see where the center is. So obviously we're going to be measuring in 3 inches. So you just need to, we're going to make a cross is what we're going to do in the center of your each 6-inch sheet. Okay, so this is a little bit longer than 6 inches by a fraction, so I'm just moving it a little bit just to find the center. And then all you're doing is just pretty roughly, this is just so that you can find the center. Okay, now you need to do that on each of your pieces. So I'm just going to go and do that, and I'll be right back. So I'm just trimming this up a little bit. Actually, is that going to work? Because I don't know, this sheet of paper obviously isn't a true 12-inch square. So it's just going to, I'm just trimming it up because I'm not sure how it will affect the outcome. So I'm just going to re-measure this. So I don't know whether that's my measuring, which is more than likely, or whether once the branding strip has been cut off, it's not a true 12-inch sheet. I don't really know. So I'm just trimmed it down. And so basically what I did was I just measured 2 sheets together and just got the ones that are the same. If they weren't the same, I just trimmed them down. So what you need to do now is you've got your 2 pieces. So we'll just pop these ones to the side. And you need to bring one of your corners up to and sit it in flush with that one of these pieces here. So you can see now why I've done that, just so that it can make it a little bit more precise. Okay, so that's just has sit in that point there perfectly. Then you tip it and bring the opposite side into the next point. Okay, at this point, if you don't want your pencil marks, I would erase them because you don't need them anymore. And then this piece, which will constitute the flap of your envelope. Now, as you can see, this is not an exact science. It is quite out, actually, but that's okay. It's like I say, we're not going for perfection here. It's a junk journal, and most things we can work out in the end. So this last piece that we've got here that we haven't folded, we're just going to bring up to about the center point. Try and get these side bits here to match, and we're just going to burnish that. So basically that is an envelope. So another, if you don't have an envelope board, this is another way to make an easy envelope. And if you fold it straight, it's even better. Okay, so I've just folded that piece down, and that constitutes your first envelope. And that's the flap. All right, so I'm just going to glue this little flap down. You could cut it off if you wanted to. Just today I'm just going to glue it down so it's out of the way. And then we're going to glue these sides down. So you don't want to glue the inside of your envelope because you want to obviously to put bits and pieces in there. So just adding a little bit of glue there. And there you have an envelope. So this isn't glued properly, completely. So you can, once you, just so that, I just put a little bit of glue just so that I didn't want to, sorry, I can't think. Didn't want to close this up. So you can go back in and add a little bit extra if you need to. Okay, so there's one envelope. So if you do that to your 3 other pieces, so I'm going to just go and do that and have a sip of my coffee first. And I will be right back. Okay, so I've done that on all of mine. So I just wanted to point out though, because what we're going to be doing is, as you saw in the samples, we're going to be joining the 2 envelopes back end to back end, I guess you could say. This bit here that you fold, just make sure doesn't have to be exactly the same, but very similar in height is what I'm trying to say, because we're going to be gluing these 2 bits together. It doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, but it's just excess glue could get on here and close your pocket in your envelope. So I just basically eyeballed approximately how far I folded this one from that fold to the point of the flap, and did the same for this one. So I just wanted to point that out. As I said, it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, but you just have to be careful where you're gluing if you don't have them the same. Okay, so I'm just gluing this closed. Okay, just pushing all that down and getting rid of any excess glue. And I just like to go in here with my bone folder and just make sure that nothing is glued down. Okay, so that's basically your envelopes, and you can see it's not straight. It's not, I mean, it's not going to be exact if you're doing it yourself. I mean, I know you can be more precise, but as I said, it's for our junk journals. And in the scheme of things, you're not going to see that it's a little bit crooked. Okay. So you just, now what you need to do is cut the flap off one of your envelopes. Okay, now I just need to look at my sample. It's funny because I like to try these out before I do them. So I'm just having a look. Yeah, that's right. So just when you do that, just trim a little bit more off on the one that you're cutting the flap off. Okay, and keep this because we're going to do our closures out of that. So this is what you've got now. You've got one envelope with a flap and one where you've cut the flap off. Okay, so in this one, and the reason I just took that smidgen off is because if you kept it on, you wouldn't be able to close this over, and this could actually have a tiny little bit more off because it was just catching. So just a tiny little bit off, and you can see there, you can see how crooked it is. So I'm just going to grab Here I am telling you, don't worry about it if it's crooked, but that's just too crooked and that's going to annoy me. There we go. So I've trimmed that off now. And that's going to sit in there like that. Now that's probably got more off there than what I would like, but it's still going to work the same. So now we're going to cut a divot in here. And I'm just eyeballing it fairly central. Okay, and if you want to ink, I would probably ink that now. So just because this is going to be glued on the inside, it's going to be harder to ink. So just so that that shows up a little bit. Same thing, you could use double-sided cardstock if you wanted to, or double-sided paper. But I just figure that it's on the inside, you really don't see much of it. Okay, I'm going to round the corner of this, if I can find my corner punch. So there, that's rounded. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to glue these together. So when you look at it, it looks like just a normal envelope, okay? Now when you glue it though, so this is where I say try and fold these bits so that they're very similar, because you don't want to get this one to be higher than the other and glue and then stick it on here and it's going to glue this envelope closed. Okay, so we're going to now glue about 1/4 inch in from each edge. Now this will allow you to gusset your envelope, just so that you can get in there a little bit easier and add little bits of ephemera writing paper. So I've just said do that 1/4 inch and then I haven't done it. So I'm just going to get that off. So about 1/4 inch, and then just add some glue, extra glue, really randomly on there. And then you're just going to line these up. And just stick them down. Okay. So as you can see, it's a little bit longer. It doesn't matter. I'm going to ink that up. You probably won't even tell. So now I would also just go in there with my bone folder and make sure that nothing is glued together, and it's not. Now I'm just going to do the same as what we did here with this other one while this is drying, and then I will show you why I did 1/4 inch in from each side. Okay, so hopefully this one will be dry enough. So I just wanted to show you. So the reason that I did, actually, let me just make sure there's no glue in here. So a good thing to remember is just pop your bone folder in there and make sure there's nothing glued. You haven't glued everything together. So the reason I did, and this isn't properly dry yet, but as I said, the reason I did the 1/4 inch, you can see how it actually just gussets, allows your envelopes to gusset and gives you much more room. Okay, so on one of these sample ones that I did, this one I did it, but I think the first one I didn't. So it just gives you a lot more space to get in there. It's a lot easier. Let me have a look at this one. So this one I didn't. So you can see it's not really defining that there's 2 pockets in there. So it just allows you to define your pockets. Okay, so that's that bit. So with the closures, I'm using this, and we're making our own. So I cut on this one. We'll do one like this. So we need 3 bits. So 2 for the circle closure and 1 just to cover the brad. If you don't want to cover the brad, you don't have to. Okay, so I'm just using this, and I don't know, let me have a look, put my glasses on. Does it tell me what size it is? It's a 5/8 of an inch circle punch. Okay, so I'm just going to cut. What we'll do is I might just cut as many as I can out of this. I think you get 4 or 5 out of each leftover piece. So that's all you've got left. So that's rubbish. So 2, so 6. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to grab 2 of them and glue them together. Now you've probably seen this done before as well. It's not something that I've invented. So I'm just going to grab 2 circles and I'm just putting them wrong sides together, gluing them wrong sides together. Okay. So just push them round in your finger just so that they stay exact on top of one another. Ink this now if you want to ink it. And I'm just going to leave that sit for a minute to dry. So we might do another one as well. Okay. It's a good idea to go as close to the edges as you can so that they don't lift. Okay, so I'm just sort of pushing that around in my fingers on the edge just to make sure that they're pretty exact. And then I'm going to ink that again as well. Okay. All right. Pop that out of the way. This is, oh, probably tipped my coffee out. I don't know whether you can see that. It says barely awake. It's a huge mug. It's a bucket. I slept in today, but I think I feel worse for it, which is ridiculous. But I feel like I could easily go back to bed. It's probably the weather. Okay, so I'm just looking at that. Now I want a brad. So a brad and a pokey tool of some sort you'll need. So just your awl. Okay. What we're going to do is just try and find the center of the circle. Okay. And we're just going to poke a hole in that. Now I'm not sure what I've done with my really sharp pokey tool. And here it is. So because this is quite thick, it might leave the hole too big. So I'm just going to poke it with that and just actually make a hole. Okay. And I'm going to pop a brad in there. Actually, what you need to do as well, sorry, before I forget, is just work out where you want that to sit, and I would make a hole in your envelope as well, in your envelope flap. Okay, so you've got a hole in your circle and a hole in the envelope flap. And we're just going to find a brad. Oh. I think I'm going to use some, I've got all these brads that I've had for years and just never use them, so I'm trying to make a point of using them in projects. I'm just trying to find a silver one or a grey one. Go with that one. Okay, so these tiny brads aren't great when you've got longer nails. Okay, so we're just putting that in there and we're going to put it through our hole here. Now you can use a what do you call it, a cancelled eyelet, and pop it in there so that it pops up a bit. I'm not doing that because I don't want to add a lot of bulk. This, I'm using just a reasonably fine linen thread as the closures here, so you don't need too much height. There's plenty of height. I don't know whether you can see that there. They go under, that thread goes under there easy enough, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're just going to open up the split pins there, and then this is what one of these, sorry, that's the other closure that I did. It's just going to go over the top. I'm not going to ink that actually because I don't particularly want to draw attention to that. So it's just a matter of just inking one of those rounds that you punched out and stick it over the back of the brad there. As I said, you don't have to do that. I just think it tidies it up a little bit. Okay. So cute. So now I'm just going to, as I said, I'm just going to use a, you can use anything that you like. I'm just going to use this, sound really Aussie there, Goner. This Gutermann, it's 100% polyester. It's like, it must be a top thread, a top sewing thread, because it's quite coarse and not as soft as your normal sewing thread. So I'm just using that for the closure in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to double it up. Now I've got heaps here. This is just left over from a, obviously a book that I've bound at some stage. So I'm just going to hook that over there and I'm just going to tie it. So see how easy that went under there. Obviously if you're using a baker's twine or a heavier type of twine, it's not going to go under there as easy. So you may want to consider using one of those cancelled eyelets or something. Okay, I'm not going to decorate these today. I've got a couple of other videos that I want to try and get done. So I'm just going to try and get them done while I've got the opportunity, while no one else is around. But you can see from the other ones that I've decorated. Okay, so I'm just tying each time. You can do this as many times as you like, but there's just to make sure that these threads here aren't going to come undone. So I'm just rotating it around from top to bottom, and then I'm just tying knots. So I'm just finishing that off there with a double knot, and that sits underneath there, and it actually gives that, I don't know whether you can see, let me have a look, gives that a little bit of height, you can see there. Okay, and then this I'm just going to wrap around the envelope like that, and once again that's it. So that's one of the envelopes. I'm going to leave that hanging because I might hang a charm or something from that. Probably don't need as much as that. So that is the first double envelope. So you can pop all sorts of bits and pieces in those, and remember 1/4 inch in, and that gives you your gusset there. Okay, so I'll just finish off this other one because I've done the closure a little bit differently. So that's that one there that I've done a little bit of decoration on. Okay, let's pop this to the side. Now this one, we'll punch some more rounds out of our leftover, the flap that we cut off. Just have a sip of my coffee, guys. I think I drink too much coffee. Okay, so we're going to cut our rounds out of here. So once again, this is a 5/8 of an inch Fiskars punch. I think most of you craft stores, you'll be able to get this, or you'll be able to get something similar. And you can make these closures any size circle you want, really. I just think this size works well with this size envelope. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to glue. I think we've already got one, so I've got one already done. So I'm just going to glue another 2 together. So wrong sides together. Oh, can you hear that rain? I might open the window a bit so you can hear it. I love this weather. Okay, so I'm just moving that around in my fingers so that they're flush, and I'm going to ink that. Okay. So same thing, what we might do is we'll just do this all at once. So just work out approximately where you want that to go and pierce it with your piercing tool, pokey tool, whatever you call it. Okay. And there, and now this here, so I'm going to work out here, I'm lining this up, so I'll put this here, I'm lining this up approximately where I want that to go, the closure. Okay, so I'm just going to very lightly, I'm just going to, you can see I've just pressed very lightly and it's made a hole there, a tiny little hole. So I'm just going to pierce this closure, and then I'm going to pop my finger in there because we don't have to go in very far. We just want to make a hole. Now this is probably something that you could try and do before you glue them together. I'm just not very good at lining things up, so that's why I didn't do that. So we're going to get 2 brads, and I'm going to go with that silver again, I think. Blue. 2 silver. I'm going to pop this in here, same as before, open up the split pins, and we're going to do the same here. Okay, I'm going to pop that in there. So this is a little bit fiddly, just trying to get in there and open up the split pins. So I tend to use my piercing tool. Now I just need to somehow, I might get my head in there, sorry. I'm just getting in between the 2 split pins and just getting my finger there and opening them up. as I said, I know there's probably an easier way to do this, but I don't do anything easy. So, and it's crooked, but it doesn't matter. I'm not stressing about it. Okay, so what I'll probably do as well is I'm going to endeavour, I don't think I did this on the other ones, but just so that the bits and pieces you're popping in the envelope don't get caught on those split pins, I'm just going to get in there and cover that with another circle. So you can see in there. Okay. And that's the next one. So same thing, I'm just going to use that same thread. Same thing, I'll double it up again. So we're just going to double it up, and I'm just looping it over that first closure, and I'm going to tie it off. So this is just so that it doesn't come undone. I'm sorry guys, I'm making everything look really difficult, but I've got arthritis in my left hand and it's actually really painful. It's just because of the change of weather, I think. So I'm really struggling to hold on to things. So just bear with me if I'm fumbling and carrying on. So I do that 3 times. So I start at the bottom, tie off at the bottom, tie off at the top, and then finish off at the bottom. Okay. And then we're just going to loop it round like so. And there you have another double envelope. I'm just going to tie that off in a knot on the end there. Just so that it doesn't come undone. Okay. So there we have 2 different ways to make a closure. I'm going to probably add a charm, tie charm or something on there, and I'll decorate the front. I mean, they don't even really need much decorating if you use beautiful papers. I will probably ink around it as well, just because I like that look. Okay. Just gotta remember which way you do it. I'm just going to ink on the flap there. Okay, and then you have your your double pocket, double envelope with the gusseted sides. Okay, oh, it's a false gusset, it's not an added gusset, but it's just because we've glued 1/4 inch in. Okay, so that's, and then you've got 4 dots left, which you can use on make closures for other items. So this is just, so that's that one that I've done and I've decorated. And then this is the other one that I did. This one I've just done single, which is what you can do as well. Okay. And that is that one. Okay. And you can see this is as crooked as a dog's hind leg, but I'm not stressed about it, because once you get it in your journal, you're not even going to see that, or send it as happy mail. It's not, I mean, the recipient's going to be excited about what's inside. So another pretty easy one. I'm sorry I was really fumbly. I've got to get back into this, doing the videos again. As I said, I won't decorate today. I've got a couple of videos that I need to get done, but I hope you're all keeping really well, and hope you keep following me with this series and my channel. I do appreciate all the support that you've given me, and I will be back with another video very soon. So until then, guys, please take care, and hope you get a little bit of crafting time in. Bye-bye.